Welcome to Live From Your Heart. This isn't just a podcast you'll listen to. This is for those moments in your life when you start to realize something's off. Maybe you've spent years doing what was expected, showing up for everyone else, playing the roles, and somewhere along the way, you lost connection with yourself. If that's you, you are in the right place. Every week, I'm going to have real conversations about what it actually looks like to come back to your own heart and start living from that place again, or perhaps for the first time. And if at some point you realize you're ready for more than just listening, I'm going to show you what the next steps look like. So let's get started. Hey, it's Les Paul. Welcome to Live From Your Heart. There's a quiet pressure that drives people. A lot of people don't even realize that it's there. It's not ambition. It's not discipline. It's deeper. And it's this feeling that who you are isn't enough. Who you are isn't enough. You ever feel that? When you do, you don't live your life. It's not you. It's a performance. Yeah, you're just performing. You ever see anyone in life, even yourself, words come out of your mouth and you go, that's not really me. You're just performing. And you know deep inside your soul that you're just performing. Yeah. I want to talk about how shame shapes the way we show up. Shame. And how it keeps us disconnected from who we really are, from our own heart. Last week, we talked about the grief portion and how grief is the doorway back to our heart. And now that very next step is shame. Oh my gosh. And now it's crazy. This week, 2 days ago, um, I read a story about um, someone who just got their life continually blown up and blown up and blown up. And they blew a gasket. Now, I don't recommend you go blow a gasket on social media, but they did. And they blasted everyone in their life. They blasted God because they have been living in this performance base for years. Now, how do I know that? Well, I'm on the outside. I know them as an acquaintance. But when you're on the outside and you see someone on a regular basis, you see their performance. Guess what ended? Yeah, their performance ended because shame just really rushed in and took over. And that's what happens. Look, folks, we can live in this mess of shame, but we have lost our own heart and who we are if all we're doing is performing, putting on a front, putting on a face. And here in the South, where I live, people are really good at it. They have a lot of phrases in the South that are used. And when they use that phrase, they're just performing. And it's really, really sad because so many people today are just living in that shame space. So here's what happens. Let me walk you through the process. Um, you're striving, growing, improving, achieving, showing up. And on the outside, we look really, really strong. But internally, it's not enough. We don't feel like we're there. We need to improve something. So you adjust how you show up and you become what is needed. Having been in the men's clothing business for over 30 years, I've seen a lot of performers and a lot of guys who looked good on the outside and performed, yeah, but they were never quite enough. There's a moment of realization. We all come to it. Now, when and where do you come to this is a process. It doesn't happen overnight, but this is where we get. We really pause and say, I'm not doing this for truth. I'm doing this to prove something. That's the shift. When we realize we're doing this to prove something, who are we trying to prove it to? Ourselves? Usually. Yeah, but that's the shift. I don't know how many of you have stepped into the mega churches of America today, or you've been exposed to it, but I'll tell you that it's performance based. Some people wouldn't agree, but I can tell you that, the show is the show is the show. And I'm old enough to have cycled through many church growth patterns and had been involved as a leader, as a pastor of a particular growth cycle in the church. Yeah. But there's always a performance happening. We put on a good face. We make it a big show. But are we doing it from truth? Yeah, we just do it to prove something. Yeah. It's written in the book. It's part of the overall growth pattern, and it has fallen in America. Yes, because authenticity today is the desire of the generation that are leaders coming up. They want authenticity. And I can tell you, shame's not part of it. Here's the cost. Let me walk you through this. Performance cost what? Authenticity. Yeah. It costs peace. It costs rest. It costs connections. 'Cause you're never really yourself. Yeah. You aren't authentic. You can never be at total peace and contentment. You can never really connect to somebody and be honest with them. You've always got to pretend. Yeah. You're never yourself. So what do we do? How do we make that shift to quit living from a shame base and live from our heart? Shame's subtle, isn't it? Isn't it subtle? Just creeps in. Yeah. And it doesn't always say, well, I'm enough. Sometimes shame just says, I need to do a little bit more. Yeah, it's real subtle. You do a little bit more. And performance it always looks like strength. And you can look disciplined, you can look successful, you can look driven, but underneath it's fear. I experienced this exact process in the sales world for a large company I worked for where I learned my trade. And I can tell you that we looked disciplined every single day. We looked successful. We were driven. But I can tell you on the last day of every month, we were really on it. And the very next day, day one of the following month, we were afraid. Yeah, because we're back at zero because you see, it's performance based. You're only as good as your last sale. You're only as good as your last month. Yeah, the day before you're on a high. On day one of the following month, you're at zero. You're not a hero. You're afraid. You'll lose all you have if you don't perform. Oh my God. And you lose yourself in the process. I'll never forget this. We were in Marco Island uh, for a meeting, and the number one salesperson in this organization was every bit on the outside, everything I've described: disciplined, successful, driven, cocky. Uh, you know the kind. Yeah, on top, and you can't get near him. Yeah, I mean, and he was setting sales numbers that no one could even get close to. And you ask yourself, how in the world could this guy do this? Well, let me set this up for you. You've got the entire sales force in this large room in this hotel at the beach in the summer. We're inside. Stupid, yes. But on the screen in front of us, we see the limousine pull up in front of the hotel. And we see this guy emerge, and he's got his sales bag in his hand, and he stops to talk to somebody about clothing because we're in the men's clothing business. Yeah. He gets to the door just inside. He talks to someone else about clothing. The depiction is that's how he does it. He talks to everybody about his business. And soon he bursts through the back doors of the room we're all sitting in, where we've been watching him on the big screen. And he is hailed as the number one. He is the successful guy. And everybody's praising him. Everybody's clapping. Everybody's hollering. Everybody's singing his tune. He takes the stage. Yeah. The audience finally settles in and sits down. And he begins this talk with a slide presentation about all the things he has. And about the fourth thing he put up on the screen, I disconnected because it was nothing more than materialism, nothing more than shame based, driven lifestyle. He couldn't help himself. Yeah. The big house, the car, the country club. Yeah. The beautiful wife, the perfect children. Yeah. The perfect parents. I mean, he had it all. He had it all. But it was all shame based because he lived in fear. He was never, ever transparent. He was never real. Just unapproachable. This is my point. When you live like this, you lose yourself. He had lost himself. I don't know if he ever found himself. I know that he fell from the top because everybody at the top always falls. He lost himself. Yeah. So let me pause and just say this. You don't heal shame by selling more, by achieving more, by buying more. More things don't heal your shame. You heal it by seeing it, you heal it by naming it, and you heal by not letting it lead your life. That's how you heal. So let me ask you this question. This is your reflection of the day. Where in your life are you trying to prove something instead of just being yourself? You might want to write that down. You might want to pause and walk with that for the rest of the week. Where in your life are you trying to prove something instead of just being you? I lived this. I hate to tell you this, folks, but you live it over and over and over again. You got to continually adjust. Yeah. What I used to think was discipline was pressure. And that's the way it felt on the very first day of every month in that sales organization. Pressure. Yeah. To be enough. Pressure to look right. Pressure to measure up. Yeah. To get on that stage and get that big award, which I did. Pressure. But I learned something. I didn't want to be like that guy. At the end of my life, I didn't want to be a slide presentation of things I've got. Yeah. Because that's all he had. Yeah. I didn't want that. I shifted. I didn't need to prove anything anymore to people. I just needed to be honest with my own heart. And that's completely a shift. That's what you need to do. So take that question. Where in your life are you trying to prove something instead of just being you? Yeah. I hope you'll grab a hold of this. I hope that you'll cease living from shame and performing because you'll never meet your. Thanks, Phil. Thanks for tuning in from your heart. Let me just say, if this continually stirs you, take action. In the show notes, there is a link. You can schedule a call with me. It's free. I don't charge you time to talk to me. You may need help moving forward. A lot do. Take the action. Make the move. Yeah. Let's see where it can go. Let's see if I can help. I can certainly listen. Take action. Start living from your heart. Hope you have a great rest of your week. God bless. I'll see you next week on Live From Your Heart. Let me ask you something. If you're listening right now and you know you've been living out of alignment, you've been showing up for everyone else, and somewhere along the way you lost yourself, then this isn't just a podcast for you. This is your moment. This is your moment. Look, I work privately with a small number of people who are ready to reset their life and start living from their own heart again. Not someday, but now. Now's the time. If that's you, go to the link in the show notes and schedule that private conversation with me. We'll have a conversation. We'll talk. We'll get clear. We'll see if this is your next step. But don't just listen. Don't be a sponge. Make a move. Make a move. Click that link and let's talk.